In the 17th century, an inspiring host gathered people together, the purpose to increase their knowledge through conversation. These gatherings were called salons. Guests would debate a topic for the evening, mostly books, then eat and drink tea. I greet you all in this wonderful auditorium at the UJ Library, but I also would like to greet all our friends and supporters who are joining us live on YouTube and also on UJ TV. You know, UJ has a television station, you know, UJ TV, you must check it. So there are others who are watching the High Tea live. So this is exciting, and I'm sure there are many others who are joining us on Zoom. I welcome you all. My name is George Mpedi. I'm Vice Chancellor and Principal of this great University of Johannesburg. Yes. Yeah, welcome to the last high tea of the academic year 2023. It feels a little bit sad, you know, but we are ending this on a high note. Today, we have a special guest, Xoli, KaMadlala, the author of the book we'll be discussing today, The Perimenopausal Globetrotter. Wow, nice title. Colleagues, before we talk about our guest today, for me, you know, this is exciting. Many of you maybe are wondering why, you know, the Vice Chancellor is interested in this topic. Firstly, this is World Menopause Awareness Month. So when I talked to friends and colleagues, I said, I want as many men to attend, and there are lots of men in here, and I'm proud of you. Let's give them a warm round of an applause. And of course, there are ladies also present. Let's give them a warm round of an applause. Now, why am I interested in this? I'm going to tell you a story. Look, I got the book, I read it, I enjoyed it. There are sections where I said, no, I'm not going to touch on this. You can talk about them, especially symptoms and all those, so that you can talk about. Speaking as a black man, and I know I'm not speaking on behalf of black men, but the little experience I have is that there is this tendency to say this is a women's issue. Hey, you are a boring man. You are interested in women's matters, you know. Soon you will be drinking tea with women and so on. Of course, I drink tea with men and I love it. And we need to change that. I remember once I won't mention names, you know, we hosted a couple. I like the English word acquaintance, not a friend, an acquaintance. So we had a dinner. And I don't know how we ended up talking about women's issues. I make it my business, you know, to understand. I'm a researcher, you know. If I hear my wife talk about something around her health, women's health, I research it, you know, to the point that you may think I'm an expert. So I don't know, they started talking about some women issues. I think I was talking more than the women, you know, that evening. And this guy called me to the side and said, man, you don't talk too much about women's stuff. You're boring, man. We never invited him again. Yeah, I never saw him again, actually. You know, I mean, my view is that how can we claim to love women in our lives if we don't care about what they are going through? How can we support women in our lives if we don't understand, you know, what they are going through? I mean, to be able to support women in our lives, we need to understand these things, you know. So I make it my business. I research everything and so that, you know, I understand what's going on and I can offer the right support. And we need to change this, you know, also at a young age. You know, I remember these young boys, I think they were 6, you know, growing up. These boys were around 6. They were born more or less on around the same date, you know. I think one was born on Saturday, one on Sunday. So they grew up as almost like twins, you know, from different mothers. Well, I had them, they met, and then the other one was trying to hug the other one, and the other one said, and this is a direct translation from Setswana, "You smell women, get away from me." And he said, "What? I don't smell women." I said, "Yeah, you smell women, go away." And then he said, "No, it's not smelling women, it's fefund." So, it's fun. That imagine at the age of 6, there is this thing that when you smell women, then it becomes not, this is a women's thing. And we are men, and we need to change that. Personally, I think also this thing of gender-based violence and all those things, it comes from this mindset that one doesn't make an effort to try and understand the other person. At work, I understand that there are instances where you would find that, especially where there is open plan setup, where people fight, because people are not put according to age, they don't sit according to age, and then they fight, people tend to fight about air conditioning. So some would say it's too cold, and then others would say, no, it must be even, it must be colder. And then there is tension, and you get 8 cm and so on. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's not for me to talk about long Mississippi stories. I just want to thank our guests today. I really appreciate this. I also want to thank our division, Human Capital Management, HCM, formerly known as HR. I saw the executive director walk in, Mayor Tokoza Kwinana, and also thank our transformation office, particularly the director, Dr. Mpumi Mkize, for partnering with me for us to discuss this important topic. Just to show you that I read the book, I like the part where you say, you were always upfront. You didn't want to, string people along, And how many people today from the beginning to say, this is where I stand, People string you along with the hope that you will adjust, or adapt at the end. But anyway, Xoli, thank you so much. Over to you. You see how full this auditorium is? Our colleagues, students, friends are here to hear you speak, not me. So over to you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for honoring me with your presence, especially when it comes to this topic when most people always need to be dragged to engage in. And I say this from experience because when I started talking all things menopause in 2016, the reception was minimal. It was almost like crickets. I post a lot on Facebook, and normally the engagement is always high. But in 2016, that day, I only had 3 reactions. One was a laughing emoticon. Another one, she just put something that I could not understand. That was it. And the title of the meme that I had put was Perimenopause Can Suck It. Because to me, I was confused, what is this thing? And we've come a long way to have an audience like this, to have men, to have young ladies also interested in this conversation. And before I go further, I always like reading the room. As you know, my name is Xoli, and I'm 45. And how many ladies do we have here that are on the 4th floor? You can raise your hand. 4th floor. All right.
What is the 4th floor? What is the 4th floor? Because we also wanted to learn, is it? I feel, man, do you know the 4th floor? Do you know the 4th floor? No. Please include us. It looks like
anybody would like to tell him what is the 4th floor? Anybody? Okay, 4th floor is just an easy way of saying anybody from the ages of 40. So if I go 3rd floor, then those that are in their 30s then can raise their hands up.
Okay.
So anybody on the 5th floor? We own each age. Thank you. And 6th floor? Thank you, ma'am. And we'll go to the other spectrum. Anybody on the 3rd floor? Team 3rd floor? Wonderful. And team 2nd floor? We own each age proudly and boldly. I'll push and go to the 1st floor because we are here. And there is somebody on the 1st floor. Awesome. There is another 1st floor. The reason that I like reading the room is because menopause is a conversation for all ages. Most of us, we grew up knowing that menopause is only for a certain age group, maybe for the 5th floor and above. So it is important for everybody to be interested in this conversation, whether you think that you're still too far from it, but I always say that informed equals empowered. Just like we have period preparation, and for boys, we talk about circumcision and all of those things before time, menopause should also be part of the conversations that we are able to have confidently because it is part of life. And menopause comes in varying stages, which I did not know up until I had to go through it in my early 30s. We always think that natural menopause, which happens from the ages of 45 and above, is the it. But then menopause can happen earlier, and if it happens from the ages of 40 to 44, it's called early menopause. I just want to cover the basis so that nobody loses me when I'm using these terms interchangeably. And then from the ages of 39 and below, it's called premature menopause. And that's what I went through. And I always say that everybody should know, because as it is, the youngest person that is publicly known to have gone through premature menopause, she went through it when she was 14, going on 15. So it is important to, we're not saying that everybody's going to go through it. Yes, you can pick up the jaw on the floor. It is important because it can happen to anybody without warning, whether for genetical reasons, for unknown reasons, but it is important to be known. And with Annabelle, I mean, she's a special case because then her, yeah, it's off. Yep, thank you. Because her parents were open enough to speak about it, but there's so many Annabelles out in the world that get poked and prodded, nobody knowing what is going on. So we need to consciously have these conversations, like have tea and talk about menopause. Don't talk about menopause in closed corners, in whispers and all of that. And so since 2016, when my journey started officially, because leading to 2016, I struggled for years treating the symptoms. As you know, Prof, in the book, you've seen where I even talk about my mom the other time, thinking that something was wrong with me. I needed to clean my system, asking when was the last time in Kipinyongo, which is like taking castor oil to clean the system. Most of you will understand that December holidays as kids, you will clean the system before Christmas so that you are ready to indulge. So my mom looked at me the other year and I was sweating profusely. And she's like, I know that it's hot, it's December and everything, but what's going on? And at that time also I was not so sure what was happening. I was like, I don't know. And she was like, when you get home in Pietermaritzburg, we're buying you Miss Alba, or is it Miss Abba, whatever, to clean the system. So being the obedient daughter that I am, I was like, okay, she bought it, it did not work, but I indulged her. Many symptoms kept happening, but because at that time I was working as a flight attendant, hence the title, the perimenopausal globetrotter. I was globetrotting, fetching my life, traveling all over the world. Kumnandi nje, you know? And then I will put off the symptoms, whether it's insomnia to jet lag. I was traveling to Australia, so it's 6 hours ahead of South Africa. That's why I'm struggling to sleep, you know. And I will be having digestive issues, and I try to think, what did I eat that could be messing up with my system? So for a number of years, I was just treating symptoms up until, because menopause, we're always talking like the hot flashes, the visible symptoms. Nobody talks about the psychological symptoms that come with menopause, you know, whether it's low mood, irritability. And even if you're on the first floor and second floor, you should pay attention now, because you might recognize your older sister, your mom also. That is why you should be part of these conversations, because it helps to navigate the home front also, or some of your lectures or other older people that you have to deal with. So there's the low mood, the irritability, mood swings. Then there is the brain fog, also forgetfulness and all of those things. And as I said, that time I was working as a flight attendant, there's that expectation that flight attendants are blonde, right? We're not the brightest of the lights in the room, according to most people. So imagine sometimes a passenger will ask for a simple thing like, may I please have a bottle of water? And I'm like, is that still or sparkling water, sir? And they're like, still. I turn around and I'm looking, still, sparkling, blank. And I'm thinking like, should I ask him? If I ask him, then I'm going to confirm the narrative that flight attendants, we are not the brightest of sparks. So I had to learn certain tricks. When I'm asking questions, then I'll just put my hand on whatever that the passenger is asking for before I could prepare it. And that led to eventually me having like dark thoughts, suicidal thoughts, questioning now the whole point of life. Why are we here? And all of that. And I'll be driving to work frustrated, irritated, moody, grumpy. Please be kind to the women sometimes that you're driving with that are displaying certain symptoms of road rage and all of that, because there is so much that we are navigating and dealing with as we living life, whether it's driving to work, showing up at work, and all of that. So when I started getting dark thoughts, that's when the light bulb happened, that these thoughts are not healthy. And that's when I eventually decided to start with Dr. Google first. After backtracking now, I've been going through quite a number of things. And I listed the symptoms, and then they pointed to potentially menopause. That's when I went to seek help. Fast track, I did the test, because if you're younger than 45, you are definitely going to have to do tests to confirm that you are going into menopause. And the years or the months that lead into menopause, they are called perimenopause, hence the perimenopausal globetrotter. So I was transitioning all these years into menopause. So then the various tests I done so that you can overrule other potential underlying causes, because sometimes same symptoms can overlap. So you might be thinking that it's this one thing, maybe it's thyroid issues, and then it's not thyroid, it's actually you actually transitioning, vice versa. So it is important to go and do the necessary tests. And I know that most people think that it's all doom and gloom, like everything that I'm talking about. But once you are informed as to what is happening, I always say that it is navigatable. Most of the issues that we struggle with in life happen when we are not informed. Once we are informed, then we're good. Like here, I'm sitting, I've got my fan here, just in case a hot flash was to happen. I'm informed, Moss. I know what's happening, right? I own it. It's part of nature. There's nothing to be ashamed of. You can have your you can have your cold water close by, because you know. You can request your desk to be moved. Maybe it is in the middle of the open plan. Then you can move it to closer to the window or closer to the AC. You are able to navigate life. During the pandemic, when we were forced to wear masks, I always say that was the worst period for women that were getting hot flashes, because you have to wear a mask, then you get this burst of a hot flash. I explain in the book what a hot flash feels like, but only women that have gone through a hot flash can fully understand what it's like. If you haven't gone through it, you kind of try to understand, but you're not gonna get it, because it just comes like. And my husband has gotten so skilled at detecting a hot flash. He can see it coming a mile away, and he'll be like, what are you thinking about? Because, I mean, it also gets triggered by a number of things. Not just the estrogen levels that are going haywire, but even like your stresses, the thoughts that are going through your mind. Hence, it's important to be mindful also as to what is going on in the head. We always laugh sometimes when we're walking past the popular alphabet store with the cold fridges in summer, that certain women, they love being by the fridges. And you can tell that they're not looking for anything. They just want to cool down for a moment, you know? So when you see women doing that at the stores, be kind, just let them be. Even if you can see that she's not looking for anything, actually she's just decoying the whole situation. Just allow them to just hot flash or have their personal summer, and then life moves on. So menopause is a very broad topic, and I know that we only have less than an hour. Yeah. And that's what led to the book, because then with the book, I could write to my heart's content and people could read and really get to understand about menopause as much as possible. And it's not just my story that I put in the book, because as I say, just like periods, women will get periods and no period pains for some. They just breeze through their periods. Some women will get a bit of symptoms and they're able to still navigate life. And then there's the women that life gets into a complete standstill. They can't attend lectures, they can't go to work. It becomes hectic. Even with menopause, it varies like that. Hence, I always say, just because another woman's menopause journey was smooth, it does not take away from the sympathy that they're supposed to have for the fellow women. They cannot be the ones that are like, no, she must just chin up. Because the same empathy we extend to each other during the years of periods, that's exactly what we should be doing. And before I get too far or pass the mic back to you, one thing that I forgot to say is menopause is an umbrella that is used as a broad term, but menopause is a single life event. That is when a woman has gone through for 12 months straight without having had a period. Not 6 months or 10 months or 11 months, but it needs to be a full 12 months without a period. Then you can almost safely say that you have reached menopause. So it's almost like a birthday, because then the moment you've hit the 12 months, then you are on post-menopause. And that's where you're gonna be for the rest of your life, post-menopause. That's where I am, thriving, living my best life for quite the number of years. And the years leading to reaching that 12 months is the ones that is filled with much, much confusion, the upside down, life getting interrupted. And then once you hit the 12 months, some of the symptoms, they do subside. Life do get better also. Some symptoms might linger a bit, but by then I think you become like a pro at navigating life with. In the Japanese, they call menopause a second spring, because it's almost like a second chance also to rediscover who you are. I always say with myself, it brought me back to myself in so many ways. I started my clothing line during that time, as much as I was a flight attendant, but because of the insomnia, struggling sleeping, I was like, what am I gonna do with the sleepless nights? Instead of getting on social media, taking the register with Team Sleepless, Team Insomnia, let us be productive. I started doing accessories. Eventually, it led to the clothing line. And that's how I started writing the book also. I started journaling. I always say that the book started here, just as a small journal. And eventually, it ended up to being like this massive book, you know? Like with everything in life, there's always the moment of reflection to say, this is my situation, so what am I gonna do with it? And also, with premature menopause, when it happens, most women are still chasing dreams, planning to get married, hoping to have children one day. And that also sometimes means that your opportunity of having kids is out of the window, which is sad if you still wanted children, you know? And we don't talk about that. And there's so many women that get put under pressure after getting married. And it's like, when are we getting our grandchildren? When are children coming? Not understanding what they might be dealing with. And I always say in my case, it was easy because I've always been open about everything. I post on Facebook about anything and everything that I'm going through, anything that is on my mind. Somebody once asked me, it's like, do you ever stop and think before you post, or you just wake up and just... And I was like, I'm the happy person that I am because I don't believe in carrying things on the inside. And me being able to post about my journey beforehand made life so easy in so many ways. It helped other people to mask off also, to just speak about so many other things that they are going through. And it led me also to finding love with the man that when we met, he already knew that I am postmenopausal. I am not going to have children. And he did not see me as any lesser of a woman. And obviously, it speaks to the prayers also that you have while you are waiting for that partner, depending on what you believe in. Me, I pray to God for everything, the big, the small, and everything, whether it's parking, the sales, and everything. I tell God, like I place my order. So I started drawing my future partner before I met him. If it's me sitting by myself, then I'll draw him here. Then he's sitting next to me. If I'm hiking, I'll draw him next to me. I used to call him the figment of my imagination. He became so popular, they called him Figgy. We'll go on dates, I'll write him open letters, who I am, what I want in a relationship, the kind of wife that I want to be. And growing up, I always thought I wanted to have children. But when I hit 30, I started having conversations with myself. Do I really want to have children? I'm like, actually, no. I don't want to have children. Society expects me to have children. My family expects me to have children, but I do not want to have children of my own. Then my prayers. And then my prayers started changing. I was like, Lord, may I meet a man that already has children and not babies, because babies are going to require me to mother them, go on play dates, attend PTA meetings and all of that, prepare food for them. Can they at least be teenagers? And I met him, and he had teenagers, a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old. I'm like... So with this story, I'm just giving different multifacets of menopause in different ways. But I'm just going to stop here because I talk too much, just in case you'd like to step in.
You're just like me. I'd never stop talking if it's something that excites me, so you don't have to apologize. Thank you very much for that introduction. I mean, I was making notes here. You know, you talked about the pressure that the society likes and sometimes enjoys putting on other people. You know, we had a child very late, you know, and it's my fault because I wanted to have a PhD. I said to myself, you know, I don't want my child to want anything and so on. But it's a long story for another day. But when sometimes as men, maybe I shouldn't generalize, let me talk about myself. I had it in my head, it's going to be a boy and he's going to do this and that. And then there was a miscarriage. And we lived overseas. And now I didn't ask for permission from my wife now to talk about this. And we lived overseas, you know. I mean, for a moment we felt alone. When this news came, I was at work, you know. And then I went to where she was at the doctor's rooms. And at that moment I said, children are a blessing, you know. You don't order them and say it should be a boy. The important thing is it must be healthy. But when we were not sure now, is this something that we want to continue with or what's going to happen? I said to my wife, listen, if we don't have children, it's fine. And whoever talks about children, it's their problem. Luckily, our immediate family members didn't put pressure. My mother-in-law never. It would be distant, you know, people say, oh, we have kids that we send. In Setswana, they say, rumor, you know, we send kids to the store. Stupid things, you know. I said, ignore them. We're going to buy an expensive sports car with 2 seats and drive all over South Africa. And then we are blessed with a son, you know. But the point I'm trying to make, and I'm glad you found somebody that understands, you know, that's supportive, because sometimes people give up easily, they accept nonsense, you know. I mean, people must stand their ground, you know. It's important to have somebody that understands, that supports you. Otherwise, you'll be under enormous pressure. I had made peace. I said, we're going to buy a Ferrari, believe you me, 2 seats. And we're going to drive all over. We're going to be cool, mama, cool, papa. You talked about menopause being something that can happen to people of all ages. To be honest with you, until I spoke to you that day, I didn't know. But after talking to you, I was thinking about this. One of the drama series on television, there was a lady that was going through, there was a scene of the lady going through and said, I'm young, doctor, I can't be going through menopause. And after talking to you, I connected the dots. I also spoke to my wife, said, she said, it happens. You should have asked me. You know, I would have told you. But anyway, this story of cleaning systems, you know, we all have a story to tell. Many people don't, may be wondering, I hate dark chocolate to the point when people say any food, and I write dark chocolate because my mother fed us Brooklux growing up. Oh, God. No. When I take dark chocolate, ladies and gentlemen, I just think about it that I start having stomach issues. So I avoid it, you know. And then when it stopped working, I hated it so much that I would eat it and just sit there, nothing would happen. Then I was promoted to castor oil. Oh, God. So I know it very well, you know. I know the cleaning of systems very well. The hot flushes, personally I heard about hot flushes, but I learned a lot from your book and also listening to you. I'm sure many men understood this, you know, the issue of mood swings and so on. And to the point that one must be sensitive, you know. Of course, men sometimes, we make mistakes. We hosted an event recently and it was cold on that day. And there was this lady wearing a short-sleeved shirt and so on. And I forgot and I said, aren't you cold? And she looked at me and said, you know, some of us are coping under these circumstances. I apologized and move on. So now we'll pay attention. But we laugh about these things. I read in your book, and I believe you, that some people even divorce because of this phase. And that's why it's important to educate many people so that people don't generalize. And I'm so glad there's so many men here, young men, middle-aged men. I thought you'd ask men first floor, second floor, and all this. That I'm glad you didn't. And yeah, you say many of these negative things happen because people are not informed. I specialize in labor law, and I was reflecting on this, and I'm like, very little is done, in the workplace around these issues. And we need to engage more about these issues. You mentioned some simple solutions, moving somebody to a place closer to the window. Obviously, you have to do it with dignity. You can't walk around looking at people and say, you are. And it's sensitive because I was trying to get people to come and attend. And I spoke to one lady, I said, you must attend this thing. I said, why me? It's because I'm 60 and I stopped asking people, because it's sensitive. But we must also not be too sensitive about these things. We need to talk and engage, and so that we educate each other. I didn't know that stress can lead to hot flashes, and things like that. So we need to manage this. People say chin up, roll with the punches, and so on. And that is where things go wrong. People go through a lot. And then instead of people maybe showing understanding, they would say, man, you're too sensitive. Roll with the punches, chin up. You are not the first and the last person. And you say people, affected differently. Some may be fine and some may go through challenges. So we need all these things. And what I liked is what you made out of a situation that was not that ideal. A little sleep, and then what do you do with the time? Then you used it productively instead of using it. And you say that, and reinforcing this saying that when life throws lemons at you, you take them and make a lemonade. And this is what you did. And today you're sharing with a lot of strangers, but I watched you, you don't care. As long as the strangers can take this message, and this is how it should be. And from my side, you asked me that, you said I'm the first man who's interested. So it didn't start here, I was always interested, and then somebody we invited for dinner started accusing me of liking women's things. And I never apologized. My word to him was like, we can't say we love our wives, we love our sisters if we don't understand. Of course, I can't just go and discuss this with a sister or a colleague, but at least I can understand and should click in my head, than us saying, hey, I'm a traditional man and so on. It's traditional men, let me rephrase, I don't want to upset traditional men, but it's people who hide behind traditions, or being men who create an environment where we don't engage and we don't appreciate things that women go through, or let me say human beings go through. And our children will look at us, how we handle things, and if we handle them the right way, they will do the same with their wives, partners, and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give Xoli a warm round of an applause. Thank you so much, Xoli.
Firstly, heads up to your husband. That is why men need to be clued up, because, they coexist with us, and they are the ones that are able to pick up slight and subtle changes before we actually even do sometimes, Like, say now in winter, you used to be fine sharing 3 blankets. Suddenly you're throwing all the blankets to the side. One moment is 1 foot out, then 1 foot in, then you're covered, then you're pushing him. He wants to cuddle, which you used to enjoy, then now you don't want him to even breathe or touch you even with his pinky finger. You move away, and then when it's gone, then you come closer again. So we need patient and understanding men, because it can be a lot. So with your question, I always say that most women actually think that they breezed through menopause because they did not get the typical symptoms that are mostly spoken about. As you say, you change your dairy products because you think that you're lactose intolerant. The other day, I was chatting with my friend. She's like, my allergies have worsened. I'm like, friend, you're in 1976. You're there. You're approaching your 5th floor. Just because you're not getting hot flashes, worsening allergies are part of the symptoms. In the book, I speak about 34 symptoms, but it makes sense because back then, it was hardly spoken about. So those were the symptoms that were spoken about. But if you look how individualistic women are, 34 does not cut it. Like there's videos where they count them up to 100. And you can imagine that the more we normalize these conversations, the symptoms are going to continue to go up. But because people think as long as I'm still getting my periods, I'm not getting hot flashes maybe, then no, it's not menopause. Then you spend so many years just treating the symptoms. And also it's been proven, especially when it comes to, I'm going to narrow it down, when it comes to black women, with the least head when it comes to medical consultations. Most women get turned away because. So it's important for us to be clued up so that we are able to advocate for ourselves when you're sitting across from the doctor. Even one of my whys for the book is to say, sometimes you go to your doctor, he's a man, he's never gone through menopause. And it's been said that medical school, unless you specialize, is not a subject that is really gotten into too much detail. So sometimes you find that your GP is one of those that is not as clued up. So he's going to keep treating so many symptoms. There are women that are on antidepressants unnecessarily because it was put off to like, no, you're stressed, you're going through depression, and then they just get a prescription. And then because they don't know about this, then they can't advocate for themselves. And be like, let's wait. Can we also look at these other possibilities? Maybe send me to do these other tests that we rule out all of these things. Then maybe we can say, then it is, before you get onto these medications. Because once you get onto certain medications, then they've got side effects, then you have to treat the side effects, then it becomes a never-ending roller coaster. So it's possible that you've been going through it for quite a while, but you were not clued up. But then you will see now that you know, then with every change, because you think that, okay, now I've got to handle, these are my symptoms, then it changes. You apply your normal lotion, then it's like, but my skin, you can still write to goma, still dry. Because yet again, estrogen is responsible for so much. Some women, hair thinning, hair falling out, gum issues, brittle nails, and all of those things. So it's important to be as clued up as possible so that we know. And then your last question, when it comes to the hot flashes, do they ever go away? We're all different, obviously. And as I said, that after a certain point, especially when you're postmenopausal, certain things kind of subside. But then the trick also is being intentional. Like with every symptom that I shared that I went through, I always have a parting shot where it's suggestions how to navigate it. Yes, there is the hormone replacement treatment that is advised that women go into. But then there's also the holistic approach that you can also explore, changing certain things. Like if you love your hot tea, and we are always told that like you take out the heat by drinking something that is hot, trying to do a direct translation. You're not. Having a hot flash, then you have a hot tea. You're going to make it more intense. You're going to drip all the more. Then you're going to have to make certain slight changes. Hot wings, chicken licking, spicy foods. And then you're inducing your hot flash all the more, understand? Suggestions like dress in layers, things that are easy to take on and off quickly. Wearing a polo neck, things that are so difficult to take off when you're getting a hot flash because you feel it coming. Then you can quickly take off, maybe if it was a shawl or a light jacket, then you still have something, and then nobody can tell sometimes. Then it can just off-ramp, because then you try to, because during that time, the brain is going haywire, the missed communication between your hormones and the hypothalamus, which is the part of the brain. So it's saying that this is how you're feeling, hence it's cooling you down by you sweating, and you're like, but no. So it is important to look at alternative ways of your lifestyle around to try and navigate and make it better for you. Firstly, when it comes to the issues of children, my mom obviously, as I was in my late 20s, she'll start asking. When you're growing up, there's that thing that get married first, then have children. But as you get older, it's like, actually you can have children. You don't have to really get married. We'd like to have grandchildren now. Like, oh, wow. So I've had varying answers for my mom. At some point I used to be like, my sister will give you grandchildren. And she's like, but I also want yours. And one thing that made sure that we put that conversation to rest, I was like, you know what, Mom, ultimately, God's plan prevail, right? So if he intends for me to have children, I will have them. And if not, because I mean, I can be postmenopausal and then I become Mary reloaded, you know? Virgin Mary, like out of nowhere, you postmenopausal, then you have children. But that's what kept her like to be like, no, it's okay. If it's God's plan, it's gonna happen. And then when it comes to the waiting, geez, I live my best life. I'm very busy. Before I met my partner, I would wonder, where am I gonna squeeze in a man in my life? Whether it's charity work, having fun, reading, doing nothing. Because I always say doing nothing is still doing something, you know? So my life was just so busy, and I was not, I think the kind of man that I was waiting for, I knew that it was going to be worth the wait. With everything that is worth waiting for, then you need to be patient enough. And I always knew that God was not going to disappoint me. And I believe that he rewards obedience. So yes, there'll be like nice dates, because also at that time I was going through a journey of abstinence. Because at some point I was like, actually, freeze frame. Let's stop this whole sex thing. Because why do we have sex? Why? And that's when I was like, you know what? We grow up thinking that sex is a natural thing to do. But why? So I started asking myself those questions, like, but why? So I was like, you know what, let me unplug from sex. Let me rediscover my reasons for sex, so that when I have it for the right reasons. Because sometimes you'll be reading all these nice magazines, like, whatever, many styles, how to get him to... It's part of life, you understand? But I was like, society is always telling us all of these things, but for me, what is sex about? So that's when I was able to stop. And it will get tricky, obviously, because sometimes you meet guys that you like. But when you tell them that, hey, dude, you ain't jumping bones, because I'm still going through this phase with myself, first dates will lead to nothing. Like one guy, I almost had a hectic conversation with God because I really liked him. We had a lovely date. So about to offer him Allendale, and he's like, why are you so single if you're such a lovely person? I'm like, it's because I'm not jumping bones. And he just shut down. You know when you can see like I just lost him. And he was like, you know what, I can stop drinking alcohol, I can stop so many things, but I can't stop having sex. And I had to respect his choice, he had to respect mine. We parted ways. I still respect him for his honesty till today. And also with myself, I've always said, because people at some point are like, no, don't tell guys on the first date that you're abstaining, because then they're going to go away. Reel them in a bit, like, mislead them for 3 months or so, thinking that they're going to get some eventually. Then you tell them. I'm like, no, but I'm wasting my time, I'm wasting their time. So honesty is always the best. And I believe that waiting for the right one, it's worthwhile. And sex also clouds us. Once you've had sex with someone, you'll put up with anything, even if they treat you like crap, because you've had sex. But if you haven't slept with a person, it's easy. It's like, bye, it doesn't work.
Look, sometimes, after arming yourself with knowledge, this can help you in terms of how you engage or disengage. Sometimes, at least that is my experience, sometimes I check the coast and I realize here, this is where the wind is blowing. The best way is for me to keep quiet. Then I keep quiet, say nothing. And the next day I realize that by keeping quiet, I save the situation. Because sometimes as men, and it's worse if you are a lawyer, if you studied law like me, because the younger me, I always wanted to say why. Let's talk, statement and reason. And then my wife would say, I'm not in court. But as I grew older, I'm not unreasonable, but then certain things don't matter anymore. Not that you don't care. It's about the when, and the how and the what you say is something you learn over time. I'm not perfect, but I say with life experience, most of the time I can sort of control in terms of how the situation will, sometimes even by just keeping quiet. If men kept quiet enough sometimes, I think the world would be a better place. That would be my answer. And if you know nothing about anything, you'll keep on pushing and pulling, and then make a situation, simple, small thing becomes a big thing. That is my humble view, but I'm not perfect, Yeah. Just like many men.
I also agree. Timing is everything. Yeah. Being able to discern how things are looking at that time, I always say, even us in the house, the timing of bringing up certain conversation, it plays a huge role. Just going for a walk in a neutral space, it inspires different conversations. And also with this book, it's part of my whys that I'm hoping that it can be a conversation starter. For example, there was a young man that interviewed me for an article after my book launch. He's in his early 20s. And as we were talking, it's like, I'm recognizing my mom as I'm talking to you. And you've just shifted the light in my mind, how I need to be able to approach her. And just like, my sister is going through teenagehood. So you can imagine how the household is. My mom is going through this, my sister. So sometimes they fight over nothing. So I have to play the referee. So once we are informed, then having the right timing, and also bringing up the conversation when not something has happened, because then when something has happened, we quit to be defensive. But when nothing really is happening, and I say there is articles, now you can be reading something on Facebook, then ask them, what's your thought on this? Also so that you can gauge where is their mind. Are they clued up about menopause to begin with? Then you can have an idea how to start. So, but it's navigatable, and humor plays a role, but also it has timing. You can't just use humor anyhow. So it comes with a certain responsibility, but every woman is different. And hence, even when it comes to the weight issue, some people want to be told, but it's in the how you bring up that I've put on weight. But good for you. Just to put everybody up to speed, a hormone replacement treatment, because as we say, with menopause, is when your estrogen, which is a female hormone, is depleting and is going haywire and all of that. And obviously, we also have the other hormones, which is progesterone and testosterone. So with the hormone replacement, then it seeks to balance that hormone that is depleting so that it can correct some of the things. So I'm going to answer it from my personal experience, as you asked. When I was initially confirmed that I was going through premature menopause, because things were so bad, then my gynae also advised that I get on hormone replacement treatment, which I did. And it did help subside quite a number of things. And then 3 months into it, then with my research and seeking other alternative options, then I went the holistic route. So I've been on both spectrums. Hence, even in the book, I just leave the decision to the individual. Do your research. It's a personal decision. I believe that nobody can fully say, yes, take it, no, do not. Do your research so that it feels good with you. Because with everything, if your instincts are not in power with a thing, then you're gonna pick up things that keep unsettling you. But if it's a peaceful thing for you, as I say, the first 3 years, I was really very fine. And now, with some of the symptoms that I'm still coexisting with, I'm fine with navigating them the way that I am. And also, when you mentioned the diet thing, I'm glad that you did. Because since December last year, up until this coming December, I've vowed to stay away from so many chemicals that I can do away with. In the book, I talk about the EDCs, which is the endocrine disrupting chemicals, whether they are in household chemicals that we use, certain toiletries, certain makeups and all of that, the takeaway containers and all of this, the no-name brand makeup that we buy in some of these discount places where you look, you can't even tell what went into it. So the other year, I was using some hair care range, and I'll put nail polish on my own nails. And whenever I apply it, it will eat it away. Then to me, I was like, then if it's doing this to nail polish, I'm absorbing it into my bloodstream. What is it doing? Because as women, everything that is not right, it goes to our endocrine system, our reproductive organs. So I decided from last year that I'm not wearing no makeup, I'm not putting on nail polish, I'm not doing my hair, I'm doing nothing. Hence, I'm like this. So it's a challenge to myself to clear out my bloodstream as much as I can. And also, it's just getting back to basics, because, we've been told that to look professional, to look good, you need to do this, you need to apply this, and all of that. And then we lose out so much of our individuality. And coincidentally, then this year had to be the year that I have to launch the book. I have to be in all these spaces, speaking to you guys. I used to love my red lips, my eyeliner, my nail polish. So life was testing me, because you said you're going to go a year without doing all of those things. Then all of those things are going to happen in the space of the year. And I'm like, I'm still going to show up boldly like this. So it's because of the journey of the EBC. Okay, when I was explaining the terminologies, I did not mention that because it is so broad. There is also the surgically induced menopause. There is the medically induced menopause. And those are the types of menopause that actually happen before time due to those reasons. For example, right now, you also mentioned about breast cancer in passing. Yes, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I always say that my dream is to have all three of the causes that get observed in October to be observed at the same time. Because you find a woman that has gone through breast cancer, whether due to certain treatment and certain medication, then they end up going to early or premature menopause. You find women due to certain conditions. I've got a friend, she used to suffer from severe period pains, up to the point that the doctor suggested that she removes. And she was not explained to that the effects of that is going to be what. And it's quite a number of women that find themselves thinking that they were saving themselves. Then when they wake up, they have gone into a surgically induced menopause. And that is more severe because, it's almost like an overnight kind of occurrence, unlike with the natural or the others that are a bit gradual. So yes, it does happen. And it's a sad thing also, just in passing. Maybe you can speak to some of the people in some of the spaces. When it comes to procedures being done, indemnity forms are normally in English. And not everybody is as clued up or is as literate to understand everything. There's a young lady that once contacted me. She also went into a surgically induced menopause after giving birth. They cut her by mistake, her womb. And then they said either she's going to bleed to death or they must just take out everything. So because at that time it was a matter of life and death. And nobody explained to her, see, when you wake up, you are going to be in menopause. And when she woke up now, she's dealing with all of these things. And then she's like, firstly, I did not know what I was signing. I just thought I was saving my life. And I don't have access, as you say, hormone replacement treatment is not cheap. And it's not available also with some of the medical aids. So she had to use, what's this that they give in clinic, at the clinic, for that you have to take till you finish the course. Antibiotics. So she has to continuously go get antibiotics. And antibiotics are not meant to be a part of life. You understand? So then she was asking me, how do I navigate? And they've been in a class case now with the hospitals, because the hospitals were saying, no, we're just going to give you this amount of money and then you'll be fine. This is like, but you've upset my life. I was in my 20s, still hoping to have more children. You've interfered with my quality of life and all of that. So we talk about menopause in such spaces and use all of these terminologies, but we forget also that there's people that don't understand these terminologies. Like with the book, when I needed information, when I wanted to understand menopause in the cultural sense, trying to explain menopause to Abo Mama Baga Mai Mai, because then I wanted to get their input. I spent a good couple of minutes explaining what is menopause. I needed to start by puberty. You know, we are tomba, and then you go through this katini, then you get, and they're like, oh, so yeah. Okay, with the cover, as you can see, it's the lady. I was still a flight attendant, hence the scarf and everything. And then this is the woman's, you see the fallopian tubes. It's like the reproductive organs of the woman. And the flowers is just saying that you bloom through every phase of your life. Perimenopausal, postmenopausal, but bloom through it all. And the lemon color just goes with the byline, turning my premature lemons into lemonade. And then when it comes to the backlash, listen, I always say that God chose me knowing very well that nothing sticks. Like, I answer what needs to be answered. Things that are not meant to be answered, then I keep it moving. Because, I mean, there's actually some women feel like menopause has always been there. What makes you think that now, just because you went through it, it needs to be something that needs to be spoken about? But then I know my whys. So it's important to always understand where some people are coming from. And if it adds value, I take it. I welcome constructive input. And I call it feed forward, not feedback. Okay. I think I kind of touched on it earlier also. And as you were saying, that was it a scandal or scheme or whatever that also touched base on it, because I know people send me those clips because I'm now known as babes for menopause. You find like clips like that, something that is relatable, as I say. Watch it with them and then kind of suss out where they are. And also with everything, with everybody, it's always important to ask with them that, Ma, if you're not there, if it comes when it's your turn, what kind of support do you think you'd expect from me? How would you like us to navigate it as a family? Because sometimes we like to assume how people want to be supported, but the best way to support a person is to hear from them what kind of support they would like to have. And just let them know that it's from a good place with good intentions. Kudos to you again. I cannot thank you enough. And I'm hoping your other peers are going to take a leaf out of what you have started. Because most companies, most organizations, it's men that are decision makers. So if men were to come to the fore, then there will be so much change that happens. And also us as women, we need to rally together, also join our voices collectively. And if you can see that sometimes your peer is going through something and they cannot express, be their voice. We're gifted in different ways, you know. And to the young ones, let this conversation not just end here. I think life has got a subliminal way of studying things. Now that we've spoken about this, you're going to see menopause this, menopause everywhere. Don't ignore it, actually. Take it and run with it. Menopause preparation should be a thing. I always say that your generation should fare better than the generations before you guys. Life has got so many issues already, and menopause should not be an issue that you're going to have to deal with unnecessarily. I brought some books also. They are available. The books are $370, which is a giveaway. Actually, the book is supposed to be more than that. But because of the nature of the conversation, then I had to be like, I need the books to get to as many hands as possible. So I do have a speed point if you are saying we are a cashless society. And on social media, I am Xoli KaMadlala on Facebook. On Instagram, it's Mask Off with Xoli. Then on LinkedIn, it's Xoli KaMadlala. And you can also inbox me, ask me anything, guys. As I say, we speak about anything and everything. So whatever that crosses your mind whenever. I don't want this to be a once-off conversation. And I'm hoping that we'll speak some more also. We're starting something that will be a legacy.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you very much. I was going to ask you, where can the people get the book? So you have copies here, but apart from here, those who may be joining us online, where can they get the book, if I may ask?
Okay, for now the books are directly available from me because I'm still finding the best channel. So Xoli KaMadlala, you inbox me, you DM me, or you email me xolimadlala78@gmail, and then you will definitely get your copy.
Wonderful. My predecessor used to say, people who don't lead or who don't read should not lead, you know. So I agree with him 100%. So we're a society of readers here, a group of readers, a community of readers here at UJ. So thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, people get so hurt when people go around saying men are trash, generalizing, you know. Look, there are those that deserve to be called that, but, you know, not all men are trash, you know. And I'm saying this, you know, when we talked about your husband, you know, he's a good man. I mean, when we talked about your husband, you know, I think I'm close to them, but he's also a good man. He's raising his hand, and all men that are here, I mean, men who are trash, I know there are other men who may have wanted to be here, but due to other work pressures or commitments couldn't be here. But, you know, we must give all men who are here a warm round of an applause, because really, it shows interest, you know, in this important topic. And I'm sure we're going to continue to talk about it. And hopefully even the people who write storylines, there used to be this drama series with this uncle who always talked about men on pause, and in a sarcastic manner. It's people who talk like that you know, creates this atmosphere that we don't want, you know, while what we want is understanding and, you know, to support each other. So from my side, Xoli, thank you so much for joining us and sharing, you know, your life journey with us. Let's give Xoli a warm round of an applause, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, thank you so much. I would like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for joining us in this auditorium, but for also joining us online, you know, those that are watching, you know, on UJ TV, YouTube, and those that have joined us via Zoom. We really appreciate this. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank all the people who supported Haiti, the Haiti, you know, during this academic year, especially our students, you know, it really, I mean, when we started, you know, there were some who say, nobody will be interested in this. This is going to be boring. But, you know, it's getting stronger and stronger. And next year, you know, the first Haiti will be in February, and it will be my book. Yeah. I'm extremely excited about it. It's not law for a change. It's a book with the title From the Baobab to the Mosquito, Rethinking Leadership Through African Sayings. It will be sold at Exclusive Books, you know, from the 6th of November. We're going to launch it at Exclusive Books at in Rosebank. And please, you know, RSVP, if you go to my LinkedIn, you know, social media platforms, you'll get the invite. Send an email, you know, it's not to us at UJ, but to Exclusive Books. There's an email, event, something. I'm advertising this, you know, because there's something important behind the book. It's not to enrich me as an individual. The proceeds from that book will go straight into a fund here at UJ. A bursary fund to support our academically deserving students, you know. Thank you. So I'm praying hard for the book to be a success, and I know it will be successful so that we can help as many students as possible. But at the same time, also empower people, you know, through these wonderful African sayings, because there's a lot to learn, you know, from a leadership point of view.
The University of Johannesburg, the future reimagined.